card can be absolutely massive in the mirror match, and one that Christopher Leonard may need to rely on in those post-sport games.
All right, semifinal number 2 is on the way. Monty, who do you like here?
Well, the numbers are really close, and my heart wants to go with Canada, but because Riley has decided to be a contrarian today, I think it would be a lot funnier if Riley picks Canada, so I'm going to go with Matt Nass.
Ooh, all right, Riley.
Well, I too will be choosing Matt Nass. As Marnie was expecting me not to, the contrarian move is to do no, let's get nasty. Let's get nasty. Matt Nass is even good. Look, got a lot of respect for the Canadian. I've been chatting with him. Chris seems very, very collected. Under the bright lights of the feature match area, but I think this is one of those situations where experience really counts. Matt Nass has been in this situation before in top 8s. He's got the reps, and his deck is well positioned, particularly after board, as you said.
All right, I'll take Canada.
Okay,
all right, we did
Monty.
it. We got him off. We got him off.
I can't abandon them.
Well, I'm going with the
They're my
power
people.
of the basketball shorts. That's right. You can't deny it. Matt Nass has got that power, and he's had it for years.
Like I said, let's get nasty.
Let's go, everybody. Alien, Corey, I'm going to pass it on over to you in the booth with the call here for our second semis.
Thank you so much, all of you. Great to be here. Great to have all of you watching as we get into our second semifinals. I'm Ailey Loney. This is Corey Baumeister. And we have got a domain mirror match, Corey. Tell us what you expect to see in this matchup.
Well, I think the biggest thing for these players, they're going to be looking for up the beanstalk. You know, that's what you're going to want on turn 2, so we might even see players mulligan a little more aggressively just because you're always going to have these cards to put back that are not so great. Temporary lockdowns, get lost, these kind of things. Elspeth Smite. So aggressively mulliganing for the powerful enchantment can really flip this match and going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of removal and answers for the more aggressive decks in the format in Matt Nass's list, which he'll be itching to get out. But as this is a best 3 of 5, the first 2 matches, no access to sideboards, so potentially dead cards, in inverted commas, for Matt Nass there. So it's going to be interesting to see how these first 2 matches shake out. And we are joining in game number 2 here because game number 1 took a staggering 41 minutes for Matt Nass.
So it got done
win.
pretty fast, huh? Wow, that was a quick one.
If you're a glacier, yes, that was pretty fast.
I mean, that's why Matt Nass wears the basketball shorts all the time. It's an athletic game when it comes to that long of games here. So Matt's got it right the whole time.
Gotta stay comfy. Game 2 underway here, and we are going a little quicker here because we want to show you as much of this match as possible while not getting kicked out of the building here tonight. So gotta stick to our schedule as best we can, but this is Matt Nass, Christopher Leonard, Domain Overlords. Which of them will be facing James Dimitrov in the finals?
So it looks like Christopher has the, air quotes, better draw here as he hasn't up the beanstalk, but no green mana here and no third land at all. So might just see a cycle here. Having pest control, being able to cycle that in the bad matchups is excellent. Here's a green source, not untapped, so not the perfect draw, but still not going to turn that one away.
Able to get that down, enjoys whatever card is on top of the library. Passes back to Matt Nass, who has Temporary Lockdown in Overlord of the Mistmoors, Leyline Binding, so basically one of fun of in hand here. And basically anything you could need.
Yeah, has a bunch going on, but most importantly, no beanstalk. We're going to be saying that a lot here when it comes to the early game, because that's all you want to do. If you're dropping Biza, you're dropping Zur, that kind of stuff is totally fine and reasonable, but you really want to be pairing that card advantage with it. So Matt does have the ability to impend the Overlord of the Mistmoor, get some pressure going, but nothing too exciting here.
Overlord of the Hauntwoods here for Christopher, so gets everywhere. Domain is online now for him. Leyline Binding seen there in hand. There's also the Herd Migration, one of the main differences between his list and Matt Nass's, as well as Overlord of the Mistmoors, as you mentioned, and of the Beanstalk.
Yep, and the Herd Migration, normally you're like, okay, great, you have the ability to put a bunch of creatures down, but Matt does have 3 temporary lockdowns available, so you can kind of clean that up pretty easily.
Yeah, not the biggest thing that Matt's worried about. In this game, with these decks being so similar, it's all about card advantage. Who can do more often?
Yep. So did top deck Zur here, so Christopher did have the option to go Zur, Animate, the Overlord and get in some damage, get another everywhere counter, but decided to get the value going with Up the Beanstalk, which I like quite a bit.
Ooh, Sunfall in hand now for Christopher. It's a nice answer for shenanigans when they are eventually afoot with Overlords coming off of their impending counters. Hushwood Verge drawn here now for Matt Nass. Where does he go with this turn?
Definitely going to start by attacking for 4. Matt can go with Zur of his own if he wants to, which isn't the worst, but, you know, in response to Zur, Christopher could Leyline Binding the Overlord before it would get that hexproof ability. So it does look kind of tempting because, you know, Matt does have a Leyline Binding of his own. In fact, a couple where if you get your own impended Overlord leylined, when you leyline it back, it comes back as the real thing.
That is pretty sweet. There's some funny interactions with Leyline Binding that you're likely to see in this matchup and inevitably in our finals, where if you leyline the other leyline before the exile happens, the target doesn't get exiled.
Yep, exactly. So goes with the Biza here just to get that treasure and then plays the land. It's kind of the most important thing. You don't really care about the life. And if you get some fish, sure, nothing too special.
Just a big body on the board, so establishing a pretty formidable presence here. Christopher Leonard now getting cards off of his own impending Overlord of the Mistmoors, with the insects coming into play.
And has a couple of, or just one Leyline Binding available as a piece of interaction here.
Overlord again for Matt of the Mistmoors, Leyline Binding twice, Temporary Lockdown and Zur, as well as the Ride's End.
And right now it definitely seems, you know, that Matt is ahead, kind of in air quotes here, as Matt has the pressure, kind of has the tempo advantage going, but it all really comes down to that Up the Beanstalk. And while Matt's hand is getting depleted, slowly but surely, Christopher's will continue to stay stocked up.
Yeah.
And Christopher is going to have one of these fantastic Zur turns pretty soon. Usually want to wait until you at least have 7 mana so you can go Zur double activate.
Yeah.
And if Christopher were to top deck a land, that is an option, and Herd Migration could make that a guarantee here at end step.
Yeah, everything in Christopher's hand, barring Zur, and a cycled or discarded Herd Migration, represents another card, so
Yep.
certainly has the advantage there, whereas Matt Nass, critters on board, has the advantage there so far.
Yeah, it looks like Matt's trying to get the kind of cheeky win here and tried to, you know, really get a lot of pressure through before Christopher's card advantage can take over.
Yeah.
And now there is a piece of interesting interaction that might happen this turn if we did go for the Zur. With not having untapped land 7, we won't see it, but Matt still does have 2 Leyline Bindings available, but no full domain, so can only cast one of them.
Yeah, not finding his own Overlord of the Hauntwoods to unlock those for just 1 mana. Lush Portico, land for turn for Christopher. He's going to stay on top.
Feels like a pretty nice Sunfall turn, as you get to Sunfall the board, draw a card, and then have the only creature on the battlefield with your Overlord, but then the impending Overlord on the other side is there. So yeah, always so many things to be thinking about.
It's going to hold off on the Sunfall for this turn, goes for Zur instead. Eternally scheming Zur. And what to animate here? More creatures valuable or more mana?
You know, I would think you kind of just always start with the Mistmoor, especially since it has more impending counters on it, so it's not naturally coming around for a while. But we'll see here. We might have just went to maybe to end step. If Christopher or if Matt's doing this, it had to have been going to end step. Otherwise, you don't do that proactively. You would wait for the Zur to be activated. So Christopher kind of, you know, air quotes, threw that away. But being hidden underneath Leyline Binding, it's kind of safe there, as eventually you can just bind it.
Yeah, we'll just get it back eventually, no doubt. So we have an active Overlord of the Hauntwoods on the other side of things. Biza, 2 insects, and an Overlord of the Mistmoors primed to get into battle at the end step.
Yeah, and Matt is leyline binding flooded here, so you know there is some opportunity where he can deal enough damage and kind of sneak out a win when Christopher only has things like Sunfall and really the only one piece of instant speed interaction with the leyline binding.
Matt not interested in deploying anything else onto the field here, so passes the turn back, and Christopher Leonard finds a Get Lost off top of the library.
Yeah, Matt not wanting to overcommit to the battlefield anymore. I mean, with a solid amount of pressure here already, 14 power in play on Matt's side.
Plenty.
That is definitely plenty.
So many board wipes in hand there. Jesus.
Yeah, and if we go Sunfall, I mean, a sweeper is definitely coming no matter what this turn. It's just which one do you want to do from Christopher's side?
Yeah.
If you want to draw a card. The one piece of play that Matt has on the crackback is being able to Zur
Yeah.
and animate the Overlord of the Mistmore. But that's
That would
not
be
a lethal
7.
attacker. Yeah, so close, but...
Matt happy to take the damage. Goes down to 14. Follow up here. Looks like we're going to be sunfalling.
And there is the draw. Now you at least have an incubate blocker as well. So a nice 5/5 to be able to hang around.
Shadowy Backstreet as well. I don't think we've played a land this turn. So
Doesn't
that's
look
available for
like it.
Christopher.
And now Christopher does have the ability to interact with either a Get Lost or a Leyline Binding, which should be almost more than enough to close this out. You know, now the advantage is firmly in Christopher's favor. Matt doesn't have card advantage. There's none of his creatures that are like stuck underneath bindings. You know, you could piece together something if you know, had an Overlord underneath a binding from Christopher or something like that.
So end step, we just saw the incubate token taken care of, courtesy of the Leyline Binding, which I think Zur is going to attempt to animate here.
Yeah, makes sense to just animate the Leyline Binding that has nothing underneath it to play around Get Lost. If you go for your own Overlord here and it gets Get Lost, you lose 2 good permanents, essentially, where if you do it to your Leyline Binding, you only lose 1 okay permanent. But looks like Matt just recognizes, hey, I'm too far behind. I have to hope you just kind of don't have some stuff here.
Yeah. So animation, or the activation, targeting the Overlord of the Mistmoors, and Christopher's deciding how he wants to respond. Because that would be 7, you go to 1.
Yep. And I think Christopher is going to realize that, yeah, Get Lost is a much better play here.
Yeah.
If you Leyline Binding it, then it's just primed to be binded back or Get Lost back, and then you get that value, so.
Yeah, now it's dead, so while Matt is behind on mana, not able to activate Zur twice, excellent time to get lost there. Turn passes back then to Christopher.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
A Zur of his own here,
Yeah.
ready to go. So, I mean, Christopher has the ability to go Zur, attack for 7, get 2 creatures, and Leyline Binding Matt Zur. And, I mean, that just seems like plenty
That's a lot.
on the battlefield to be able to make it so Matt is going to have an incredibly difficult time coming back. But Christopher, of course, going to think this out, as this is a huge moment for these players.
Yeah, no kidding. Matt Nass, no stranger to high-stakes Magic, but has never won a Pro Tour?
Has never won a Pro Tour. Definitely gotten close. Has won a ton of Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
His Grand Prix conversion rate is quite impressive. Every time, I think he's won like 6 Grand Prix or so, and a lot of them with KCI and then different combo decks.
He's the reason I would say that got banned, right?
That's pretty safe to say, yeah. When he gets to the top 8 of those type of tournaments, he usually takes them down.
Uh-huh. Down to 7 goes Matt Nass. Get Lost, Temporary Lockdown, Leyline Binding, and Ride's End. So removal available here for him. How does he approach this turn?
see. Yeah, leaving Zur untapped here and having the ability to animate these leyline binding is kind of risky.
Yeah. 4 mana available on Christopher's side.
Yeah.
Binding locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure I love that play from Christopher. I felt like you want to proactively deal with the Zur, as now Matt has the ability to go 3 activations, so Christopher kind of can't blink first, essentially. Now you have the leyline binding, you get to go for Zur, but now Matt does get to respond by just saying, okay, well, animate both of these.
Yeah. And like, there's no real risk anyway if the leyline binding with Zur underneath it. Oh, haha. Okay, so this prevents Zur from actually getting taken.
Yep. And, oh, yeah, a nice play there. Christopher responds by making it a creature. Then the leyline binding will fizzle there. So maybe, maybe a missed sequence there from Matt, because Matt could have responded by get losting the Zur from Christopher's side and then binding the binding.
Sure.
And now Matt used 2 pieces of removal to kill 1 thing. So essentially, the Zur could have been removed for free.
Yeah.
Yep. So maybe a slight misstep here.
Yeah, that kind of felt like the turn
Matt Nass.
that Matt wanted to get a bunch of damage through or just gain some life, because it is getting a little precarious.
Yeah, definitely.
Ride's End still available for Matt. Bees of the Bounding Spring in hand for Christopher. Herd Migration 2, as well as Day of Judgment.
So can at least use that herd migration to draw a card. So almost showed the card on top, but I guess we'll be showing it now. Is a backup Zur, just in case.
Map token explores on one of the insects, gets rid of the Zur on top.
Okay, so just wanted the counters. Valued that a little bit more, and it makes sense. Now you can attack both of those spirits into an opposing Zur, and none of them will get eaten.
In with the team.
So now Zur can, Matt Zur, I'll have to be more specific, can animate one of these leyline bindings and go for a block there, and Christopher doesn't have any way to interact.
Yeah, not as it stands. No instant speed removal there for Christopher, so Matt's going to get to block here and gain some life.
Yeah, looks like Matt will take 4 but gain 6. And Christopher will gain 7 as well. Life totals will really be all over the place in a match like this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No Screaming Nemesis to prevent.
Yeah,
that
there you
this time
go.
around, huh? 22 and 9. Both players
So
coming out of that with extra life.
this is kind of getting set up in a way with this herd migration with a bunch of tokens, where this is going to be like the world's best temporary lockdown in a domain mirror here.
Jeez, all of those are going bye-bye.
Yeah.
Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Just
9,
clearing
10?
off 25 power.
Yeah.
Getting your opponents up the beanstalk out of here.
Yeah, I think it's 10. It's a 10 for 1.
Yeah, and get your maps gone, I guess, but you can crack them beforehand.
Yeah. Oh, Sunfall.
Okay.
So
Probably
Christopher
don't
sit
need
up there,
that
like,
one. Okay, gonna keep it.
All
And
right.
here's the lockdown.
Oof.
Be able to have a huge swing.
Goodbye, tokens.
And a chunk of damage.
6.
Good old 7 with the
7?
counter. Yep.
Yep. All right, life total is pretty even Stevens right now. But Christopher needs something. Finds another up the beanstalk, luckily.
Yeah, kind of the best thing to
But-
restock.
Nothing to trigger it currently.
It's a good start. Maybe draw into an expensive spell.
Okay.
That's great.
Very nice. Overlord of the Hauntwoods.
Overlord being a redraw here.
Never didn't have it. One thing these decks do so well is just keep the cards coming.
Yes. Yeah, they keep it flowing, that's for sure.
Just flood you with value.
And Overlord's going to draw a card, but it looks like the Sunfall was left on top for Matt. So, you know, Matt's kind of all in on this Zur right now. So, yeah, I think that is a smart play from Christopher. Deal with the Zur, even though Matt does have a backup.
Yeah. Smart play by smart players. Here comes Bees of the Bounding Spring. So a life will be gained. Go up to 19. Gets a card. No treasure, no creatures.
Most importantly, the card there. Now you can Zur and then attack for 6 once again. Seems like Matt's best plan. You don't really want to try to Sunfall. The Ride's End isn't great right now, so get on in there.
Taking Zur along for the ride. So in for 6 more damage and 6 more life if the Zur sticks around, which we know it will.
Yeah, debating if you want to chump block with the bees. I like not, because you can double block with the Overlord next turn, and you're still at a healthy enough life total. You know, you maybe don't want to take it one more time.
Yeah. 2 lands off the top here for Christopher. Overlord of the Hauntwoods does represent another draw, though.
Yeah, and Christopher is definitely flooding out a bit, but has also drawn maybe 6 or so extra cards than Matt has so far.
That makes sense, then.
Yeah.
Here comes the Overlord.
And it looks like Matt, you know, a solid 20 cards through his deck without finding one single up the beanstalk.
Okay. Get Lost is a nice pickup here for Chris.
Yeah, Get Lost as a redraw. You can just destroy the lockdown and get your beanstalk back. And I think that would be what you want to do now, or you try to deal with Zur. But regardless, you really want to do it now. If you were doing the lockdown, of course.
Yeah. Because otherwise Zur gets to animate it, and then it's hexproof, and then just a whole bunch of other issues to deal with. Ride's End. Targeting the Overlord. Now there's a cool little thing we could do. No, we can't. We can't do with Zur on the board. Never mind. To get his own Zur back to make his stuff hexproof.
Yeah, there you go. But we'll see if Christopher wants to prevent 1 damage here and destroy the Zur, or blow up the lockdown. It's rough to leave Zur on, but I think I'm going for the value here.
Getting the card.
And I would try to get the card.
Yeah, and then try and get 2 cards off of whatever he finds off the top in the next 2 draws.
Yeah. Yep,
Nice.
love it. So now the maps will represent, more than likely, the Leyline Binding being a lethal attacker. So Christopher will have to kind of find something here. Another up the beanstalk.
Okay, we're beaning.
Okay, but still 2 lands, a big draw.
Okay,
Huge.
3 cards off of that coming in. Woohoo!
And now is probably the time when the game starts to really snowball out of control, because Christopher could have survived 1 more turn.
Yeah. Jeez.
But now we just drew 2 more ways.
Ooh.
Christopher just drew the ability to draw 6 more cards.
A Leyline Binding for the Zur.
While killing 2 things.
With the Ride's End.
And you can get your own Zur back here.
Good grief. That was sick.
Yeah, now it comes down to Christopher just gotta be like, okay, how can I make sure I don't mess this game up?
Yeah, because now, I mean, it's swinging way back into his favor here if he's able
Definitely.
to sequence this correctly. And both of those draw 3 cards, Corey.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where Beanstalk starts to really take over, and it was the classic. Chris drew 3, Matt drew 0. You know, it doesn't come down to that elementary of a, you know, like how the matchup works, you know, but it very much helps.
Oh yeah,
Person who has the beans definitely makes
Has
it a
the
lot
advantage, yeah.
easier.
beans, they're good for your heart and your hand because you get plenty of cards.
Yes.
Another Overlord. Lands aplenty, Leyline Binding, and Analyzer Pollen. Ooh, we gotta go get a Traxa.
You can get whatever. Now Christopher can just start turning his hand face down, start picking cards at random, and would still probably win this game when you have 3 beanstalks.
That's so nutty. I bet Matt is just like, come on, where are those other temporary lockdowns?
Yeah, and Matt's just like, what's the best draw? And I mean, I think it starts with just beanstalk into beanstalk.
Yeah.
And kind of going wild from there.
Okay, right then. That can get rid of Beza, I guess.
Yep.
That's a rough spot here for Matt Nass.
Yeah, that is brutal. Just leaving a removal spell that deals with one thing on top of your library.
Never feels good.
No, it doesn't feel good at all.
I mean, good Sunfall, but that doesn't do anything really, so.
Nope. End step binding to get your Zur back, to get yourself far out of range.
Crikey.
And Matt should just be able to, or Christopher should be able to just win the game here. You get to animate the Leyline binding. The Overlord, you can even animate the Beanstalks if you want. So
I mean, why not? Look how much mana he has available.
13, 17, 18, 19, 25. Looks like 26 damage to me if Christopher wants it.
That is so very gross.
And it's just 20 without the Beanstalk, so he doesn't even have to animate those. But there's really not any risk. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, get him in there. It's no console authority of consoles, but they'll do.
Yeah, now you can safely say that Up the Beanstalk won Christopher the game with the attack, you know.
Absolutely.
It wasn't the card draw, it was
Good
the power
grief.
and toughness from this Up the Beanstalk that got it done.
Go 2-2s. Jeez, like, that was a crazy turn of events there for Christopher. Just card draw after card draw after card draw. Every single spell he cast netted him 3 cards there. That was just way too much for Matt Nass to overcome.
Yep, and now Matt's on the play and has the absolute best hand you can have. A green tap land into Up the Beanstalk on 2,
Yes.
and then start going from there. So a beautiful hand there, and then from Christopher, nothing great. Does have the Terrace Under to just deal with Up the Beanstalk. And normally you think, oh, this exchange is not great. You drew a card, and then I destroyed it. It's a natural 2-for-1. But when the matchup is that important and it revolves around this card so much, you're just happily get lost that or Terrace Under immediately.
Up the Beanstalk, too good.
And then looking at some of the sideboards from these players as they start to develop their mana, Christopher brought in 2 negates, 1 Terrace Under, 1 Get Lost, the 1 Doppelgang, of course. That's going to be the best one. 1 Paw Patch Formation and took out Beza, Herd Migration, Day of Judgment, Pest Control, Elspeth Smite. All the sideboarding here is basically how many cards do I need to take out? You know, that's the first thing. And then for Matt, we do see the Nissas coming in, Atraxa, Elish Norn, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Paw Patch, Stock Up, Terrace Under, as well as 2 negates for the lockdowns, the Rides End, Zur, and Beza.
Nice. Both players getting their boards developed here. Overlord of the Hauntwoods for Matt Nass, getting him some extra land and domain online. And Overlord of the Mistmoors for Christopher Leonard thus far.
And Christopher does not have the Black Source to be able to play this Zur, so really needs that if that is his plan of getting aggressive with the Overlord. There's a Swamp.
Hey.
Never didn't have it. We'll see if he actually wants to go for that, though, with Matt having this much mana available.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Yeah, I think leaving up Negate here makes a lot of sense.
2 Leyline Bindings available. A Swamp here now drawn for Matt. Get Lost, Day of Judgment, and a Forest. So a couple of land drops sorted out for the next couple turns. And we're just going to play land go.
Yep, just draw go. I mean, this, of course, favors Christopher as Christopher has the clock.
Hedge Maze down, Surveil, Lush Portico in the bin.
Not much has changed, so it makes sense to just pass it back. And at some point, you know, Christopher is just saying, I'll do this all day.
Yeah.
You got to deal with my spirits eventually.
Got to get a bug zapper.
Yep. There is a cavern as well. So now it was a little more tempting for Christopher to go Zur plus animate the Overlord as you'd still be able to have negate backup, but you definitely don't want to play it post-combat.
Yeah, that'll come off of impending counters, or the impending counters will come off of it, so it's active from next turn. Day of Judgment, looking super juicy for Matt Nass.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked to just see this Overlord come off and then,
An attempt at a Day of Judgment.
yeah, then Matt attack with the Green Overlord and then try today. But yeah, with the negates,
It's a little tricky.
this could be tricky for Matt.
Yeah, and, you know, leaving up so much mana, 2 negates in hand as well as get lost. So Christopher seems to have the answers for everything that Matt Nass has in hand available.
Yeah, that being said, Matt can just go Day of Judgment and then has 4 mana available, so can still go Binding, Binding, Get Lost, or Tear Asunder, so has 4 pieces of disruption here, and just the 2 negates. It should be not enough to combat Matt here this turn to deal with that Overlord.
Matt Nass attempts to cast Day of Judgment. It is countered by negate.
And now Matt can just say go, and if he wants to interact, if he's really afraid of a lot of counter spells, could do it at upkeep. And looks like that is where we're pausing, just saying, okay, you know, I got to make sure this doesn't attack.
Yep.
And this will probably eat the other negate as well.
Tear Asunder going after the Overlord. There is the second negate. So Get Lost and Zur Eternal Schemer in hand at the moment.
Yep.
2 Leyline Bindings available still for Matt Nass.
And now
Here we
Matt
go.
knows that he doesn't have to play around another negate. That is
Yep.
the full 2.
In response to Zur, Leyline Binding enters, and on the stack it is destroyed. So
And has the other Leyline Binding. So yeah, Matt needed every
Wow.
piece of interaction there.
Jeez, like, talk about getting yourself hellbent just to deal.
Yeah.
He was almost hellbent on dealing with that Overlord.
Yep, that was an all-in moment kind of for both players. That
Good
was
grief,
awesome.
Yeah.
And now as the dust settles, Matt's still at a very low life total. Has this Overlord to kind of get back into it.
Man, would love to find a Zur and gain some life here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because one more hit from these little idiots and he's dead. There is a Get Lost, so that will keep him alive.
Yeah, and we're getting 2 flyers of our own, so there's not going to be too many draws from Christopher that would just win the game. I don't think any draw is like Christopher has an I win button.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Leyline Binding would be quite strong, as you can protect it with Zur, and the Get Lost wouldn't do anything. You could, of course, kill the Zur in response, but Christopher needs a draw here. He's going to fall too far behind, and that is not it.
Boo. Lands. I mean, you're useful and all, but boo.
Yeah, not
see.
great here. Now everything will really kind of snowball out of control,
So whatever's on top, Christopher
Christopher.
likes it.
or at least is thinking about it right now.
Matt Nass still has the other map token available to him to buff some of the stuff, but that's a lot of power on board.
Yeah, and now Matt gets to turn the corner real quick and attack for lethal on the crackback with the 2 Overlords and force some chump blocks. Yeah, Get Lost, not good enough. Christopher really needs the string of Beanstalk into Sunfall or Beanstalk and then Sunfall. Something like that. There's Mom coming to hang out. Elish Norn coming off the top for Matt Nass. That should almost assuredly do
yeah.
it.
Is she even needed? At this point in the matchup, you think Matt's got this pretty much locked up, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
But she's still cool, so by all means.
So it doesn't trigger off the attacks of Overlords to get double, but just
the enters effects.
Yep, the enters, but still pretty sweet here. You know, it would be interesting if Matt wanted to even overextend into this, since Christopher kind of needs a Sunfall, but this ends up being reasonable enough.
Map token, look at all these bugs.
Plays the land immediately, thinks about the card, leaves it on top, and really Sunfall or bust, but you almost need Beanstalk into
Yeah.
Sunfall.
But even then, Beanstalk wouldn't trigger with Mom on the board.
Yeah, good point, good point. Good point. Yeah, Beanstalk would be a terrible draw.
Elish Norn, mother of moths in that game, that's for sure.
Mother of no funds for your opponent, that's for sure. All right.
Ooh, Mom is in hand.
Okay, I mean, there's no Beanstalk in Matt's hand, And up top for Christopher, has the best draw you can have.
Hell yeah.
Beanstalk on turn 2.
Overlord of the Mistmoors, Terrace Under Sunfall. 2 other lands alongside that shadowy backstreet, so Matt's, if he can find a, if he can find a Beanstalk, he'll be quite happy with that.
Yeah, Beanstalk or land I would probably be keeping on top, and we're probably going to see what we saw for the last game is now just immediately Terrace Under this.
No fun for you, Christopher Leonard.
They're both thinking about those beans.
Yep.
And a Traxa draw in there from Matt. So Matt's all ready to go, just has to keep drawing lands
Yeah.
as he doesn't have any of them right now. So this Paw Patch formation definitely might use its hidden mode
Oh, yeah.
of draw some cards here. But all that being said, Christopher is pressuring really well here with this Overlord.
Paw Patch is going to draw a card, make a food.
And there is a tapped land, but as it stands, doesn't look like Matt has anything castable besides the Zur. You usually don't want to play that one this early, but drew untapped land number 4 there. That was
Nice.
huge. So now he has the decision, does he want to have untapped land and Overlord, or tap land and guarantee one of the 5 drops for next turn? Determines that he's far enough behind and wants to be able to get some blockers going.
Yeah, try and keep the board at parity so the flyers can bounce off each other. And hopefully Matt can come out on top here in this exchange and find a Beanstalk and start getting the advantage off of that.
Yeah, and this was the turn where Christopher wanted to do exactly what he did last game, draw that swamp off the top and animate that Overlord for the Zur, but doesn't have it
Not
this time.
around, no.
And Christopher's kind of turn off is going to be really good news for Matt.
Oh, yeah.
And there's untapped land number 5, but now it's the do you want to risk Elish Norn? And it
Oh,
wouldn't
she'll
work.
get dead.
Yeah, it wouldn't work, that's for sure.
It's tempting, though.
Yeah, it is tempting.
But you have to respect all the removal. This deck plays so much of it.
Looks like there is Elish Norn gonna get lost immediately.
Yeah. Shouldn't follow the GPS. Big think here for Christopher before firing off any removal on Elish Norn.
Could wait and Day of Judgment as well. Or Ride's End. The problem is, this Elish Norn does not turn sideways.
No.
So, wow, gets lost the Overlord.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, Mom survives. I imagine she's going to die soon here, though. There's another get lost.
There we go.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, I would assume destroying Elish Norn now.
Yeah.
Matt plays
Okay.
negates and
Judgment.
stuff as well, so.
Hangs on to the get lost, wants some instant speed interaction, so it takes care of Elish Norn. While Nass is tapped out, he finds and Analyze the Pollen, which he could fire off if he wants to go and find something juicy for a following turn.
Yeah, could get another Overlord of the Mistmoor and just play that immediately. That looks like a pretty solid play. And then you can Lush Portico to try to find land 7 for a Traxa. That seems like the play that initially sticks out to me.
Yep. Exiling.
Since you already have Zur, you're already ready to go for that. Goes for the mana advantage instead.
Nice. I was about to say, we haven't seen this guy in a couple turns.
Yeah, and this is nice too. This kind of guarantees a Traxa.
Yeah. Absolutely. Don't have to worry about the mana colors because everywhere does everything and, accelerates towards her.
Yeah.
And then things get out of hand.
Yeah, this is really just saying Matt wants to guarantee a Traxa for next turn as it's going to be there's no counter spell for that.
Yeah.
Where this Sunfall to deal with the Overlord might not work, but a Traxa is going to work and then just easily
Can you imagine?
might die, but
A Traxa into an Elish Norn on the board if Christopher
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
have a board. Oh, that would have
that's
been
the
disgusting.
dream. That's the dream. Look at the top 20.
Yeah, you like to discard because you're going to be discarding. Good grief.
Okay, there is the Overlord unlocked. Now-
Sunfall Schemer attracts a Grand Unifier.
Now, with finding an untapped land, I mean, Atraxa was almost assuredly going to find you one anyways. But one thing Atraxa is very good at doing is finding at least a way to interact, aka a Leyline Binding
Yeah.
for 1 mana. But we'll see. Might be wanting to just go the Zur route here.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to sandbag Atraxa for a little while longer. So Zur, Eternal Schemer hits the board.
Okay.
I think he might eat some
Interesting.
removal pretty quickly. He's going to animate the Overlord of the Hauntwoods. So that's going to get busy here pretty soon at combat.
So Christopher could have interacted there in response to that map and dealt with both of these creatures. With the
Yeah, because we got the Leyline and the Get Lost.
Oh, the
so-
Leyline Binding does cost 3, so couldn't have done that
okay.
here.
Gotcha.
So is waiting for this Overlord to attack. Then you can get Lost Zur and then ride to end the Overlord if you want.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Now's a good time to do it because Matt Nass is tapped out. So first things first, got to get Zur off the board as he is giving hexproof to the enchantment creatures. And as you said, Corey, Ride's End will take care of the Overlord of the Hauntwoods.
And now Christopher gets to get busy with the Overlord and has the negate backup for the Sunfalls and has the Leyline Binding to be able to deal with
yeah.
Atraxa. So right now it seems like Christopher has the tools.
Yeah, to fight through everything that we see in Matt's hand.
Exactly.
But it's still, I mean, it's still tricky with Atraxa because she hits and she triggers. Like, you can't stop that.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to get the value.
Yeah.
But, you know, if Christopher's in a spot where he can be pushing through for damage,
Yeah.
that might actually happen. So those are just untapped. And, yeah, of course, Christopher's life is not at 14. This is Matt at 14. And we'll get this adjusted here in a little bit.
Yeah, Overlord didn't hit its controller.
There is the old Atraxa.
All right, let's go looking at some cards.
And, you know, all the get losts have already been used.
Jeez.
Where, you know, this is, Atraxa is a card you do not want to put under a Leyline Binding.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
The worst case scenario happens quite often of you get to activate it again. So there's Planeswalker, Sorcery, Enchantment, Creature, Land down there.
Yeah.
Gets
So
the,
Flood Form Verge instead.
yeah, that looks like a Nissa to me.
Yeah, that's Anissa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, this is great.
I mean, that's probably the best hit he can have with that, honestly.
They're all pretty good,
Yeah.
you know. Like,
Just
there's-
missed out on a... No, we got it. Did we get an instant?
No, it doesn't look like
No.
we got an instant.
Okay.
So maybe a Get Lost in there would have been the best possible, but yeah, this deck has so many different types that it's pretty hard to not have a good
Yeah.
a good Atraxa.
Never any battles, though.
Yeah.
So sad.
So yeah, Christopher forced to just do nothing. Leyline Binding that Atraxa just feels so bad.
You need to clearly answer that. So, Zur, negate, ugh, Leyline Binding.
Well, indeed, this is brutal because right now nothing can attack into the Atraxa. So if you want to be trying to get aggressive at all, you have to deal with the Atraxa. The only way to do it is the Binding.
Yeah, binding with 2 negate backup for the 2 Leyline bindings from Matt Nass, but
Yeah. And let's see, how much domain do we even have up there? We have for sure Abzan. Maybe that's a archive there. So maybe the Leyline Binding costs 2. But yeah, there's only 1 blue source. So you can't even double negate.
I think that's a Verge. The
Yeah,
blue line is a Verge.
And if it's a Verge, it's the Leyline Binding also costs 3. So
Yeah.
everything is wrong for Chris right now.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, you have Zur available.
This is a tough spot, man.
Yeah,
Matt
this,
Nass could be inching ever closer to a Pro Tour Finals here, Corey.
absolutely. This is looking very good for basketball shorts lovers around the world.
Will that mean we have a shorts off in the finals?
Maybe.
Yeah, because James is also rocking them. Here comes Zur. Eternal Schemer. he's going to have to come up with something good here to try and get Christopher out of this pickle.
Yeah, nothing looks good. Sure, Matt can kind of feel this one closing in.
Yep. He's going to animate, or excuse me, he's going to attack here with the Overlord. Atraxa is going to get in the way. And in response, we'll have Leyline Binding on Zur.
Yep, Leyline Binding on the Zur. See if we want to do anything about it.
And not even, I don't know if we have enough blue even to do double negate nonsense.
No, definitely don't. Yeah, use the only blue source up here, so can't do anything about it. Leyline Binding's uncastable.
Yeah.
Christopher right now has 3 uncastable spells in hand, and Atraxa's about to truly start going off. Nissa can also come down at any point.
Yeah, and
do an overrun effect. You know, not what you need right now, but
we get the point home that I'm very much in control here in this matchup. Looks like we did get the life totals corrected again, so apologies for that, friends. In comes Atraxa for 7, all the bugs in the way. All 8 of them. Atraxa goes die. Any follow-up here from Matt, or he's just going to say...
I would think we're going to do some following up. Matt definitely senses he is the aggressor now with all these cards, so Nissa, start making gigantic creatures. No negates available.
Massive Nissa here, indeed. So this is going to be equal to the number of forests? Something along those lines? It's 11?
Yeah, it's going to be gigantic. That's just equal to the loyalty, if I remember correctly.
This is loyalty, yeah. Oh, and then the overrun is equal to the number of forests, yeah.
So you just make 8 8s, then you make 9 9s, then you make 10 10s.
And then Christopher gets run over by, what are they, Phyrexian Horrors.
All right, so an Up the Beanstalk here is, you know, probably the best draw, as it usually is. You know, Beanstalk here, if you can then... Oh, is that an Overlord? No, another Bean?
Terra Sunder.
Terra Sunder, okay.
There's no board wipe in hand.
Okay.
That's so brutal.
Terra Sunder is not awful here.
But it can only hit enchantments unless you kick it.
Yeah, I think you just want to kick it here. Get rid of Nissa while you can, because if you leave it underneath a Leyline Binding, you're toast. So I would think kicking it there while there was no negate available seemed like Christopher's only play there, but maybe I'm mistaken.
In comes the Horror. Down to 11 goes Christopher.
Yeah, there's a backup Nissa. Nothing matters.
Yep. Matt Nass just has absolutely everything he could possibly need here. And going through these turns now, the writing is on the wall. Matt Nass, I believe, is going to be in the finals here of Pro Tour Ether Drift.
A domain finals. We already knew that, but...
that was inevitable for sure, but... which person it was going to be to face James Dimitrov was undecided, and I think Matt Nass is about to give us the answer here, Corey.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the only thing that can ever allow Christopher to come back is, you know, Christopher's kind of trump card here, which is definitely the Doppelgang, but just don't have enough mana where I just don't think it's enough. Even with Matt not having, you know, any counter spells available, it's like... just doesn't seem like it would do enough.
Yep. Nissa taken by the Leyline Binding, a card drawn here for Christopher. Can he find a board wipe or anything to keep him alive? Just a Plains. Zur Eternal Schemer available. Can animate this thing, but oh man, this is such a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, Matt just has way too many things in hand. This looks like we're just gonna go through the motions.
Yep. Zur, go.
Yeah, no blue mana available with 2 negates in hand. You got to be feeling really brutal about that. Does have the Terra Sunder and the ability to kick it.
Does it keep him alive, though, with these massive creatures on the board now?
Yeah, I don't think so. As this other Nissa coming down and just having that automatic overrun effect.
Yeah, that's just gross.
Is just going to...
+1/+1 for each forest and trample, so...
Yeah, and there's a lot of forests.
Oh, boy.
And now can actually double overrun. Can overrun with this one, and then play another one and overrun.
That's a lot of damage.
Or analyze the pollen for a Zur, animate this Overlord. Like it's... How
many ways would you like to win?
Yeah.
Another Leyline Binding to remove the blocker out the way. More than enough resources here for Matt Nass to pick up this third win necessary to get him into the finals here of Pro Tour Aether Drift.
Yeah, and Matt looking like he's ready to go ultimate on this Nissa. Probably something he hasn't done that often in this tournament, I would imagine.
Oh, okay. Terra Thunder, gets rid of that. Okay, nice. So he got rid of the Nissa because Matt didn't activate it.
Yep, and, you know, Matt could do something about that, can Leyline Binding it back, but just recognizes you want to get Zur into play first, get that down, then use your Leyline Binding on Christopher's Leyline Binding to just make sure you can protect it.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be it for Matt. He's going to be into the finals.
That's awesome. Matt Nass, a veteran of the game, has been in plenty day threes. He's won so many GPs. Hasn't yet won a Pro Tour. Is this his weekend to do so as he gets in here with the entire team?
Just 13-13s.
Yeah, no biggie. And that is going to do it. Matt Nass gets into the finals of Pro Tour Aether Drift here, taking down Christopher Leonard. A Domain Overlord's mirror, but Matt Nass reigns supreme, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. Big congratulations to Matt Nass. You know, he's always playing a ton of Magic, always preps for these tournaments whenever he makes them, you know, and with the best of his ability.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see the hard work paying off for our grizzled veteran here.
Excellent, excellent job there from Matt Nass. And a grueling matchup. We didn't even see the first. There were still 40 minutes tacked onto that match. Now he has to somehow refuel all of that brain power, all of his things he needs to get back to go and do it all again against James.
Absolutely. But, you know, Matt does kind of have some of these mirror breakers in his list. So got to think if you are kind of favored in this Domain mirror match, probably looking pretty good for the finals as well. So looking nice for any Matt Nass fans out there, which there are. Plenty.
Absolutely. Anyone who enjoys shorts will be a Matt Nass fan. We do love shorts, don't we?
Absolutely.
That is going to do it for myself and Corey for now, friends. So thank you very much for watching the semifinals with us. We are going to hand it on over to Riley, who gets to interview Matt Nass, and then we get to set up for the finals.
I'm here with a very tired Matt Nass. Wow, what a marathon that was, Matt. Are you feeling the weight of that match as it's finally come to an end?
Yeah, I think that was about 2 hours of intense Magic. I don't even think we were playing that slow. Obviously, it's a top 8. You're going to play a little slower, but they were just long games, 4 games of really back and forth. There was one game I survived at you know, where the 2 flyers and the Overlord were looking like they might kill me, all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, need a break.
Well, you've got one now, thankfully. You do have a little bit of time to rest and relax and recuperate before, of course, the final. How are you feeling about that? Is it something that's sunk in just yet? Are you, or are you just still in recovery mode?
A little bit of both. And yeah, it's a weird one because on the one hand, the mirror is obviously around 50-50. I like my sideboard, so maybe a little better. Gruul, kind of one of the tougher matchups for Domain. On the other hand, I'm so tired. Gruul will at least be a little faster, so it's one of those things where it could go either way.
At least you'll, we'll have a result a little bit quicker if you end up playing against Gruul Mice. But no, look, Matt, win, lose, or draw. Well, we don't have draws. Win or lose in the finals. You've done a fantastic job throughout this weekend. I know so many people will be supporting you as you head into the finals. Best of luck to you, mate, and congratulations on the run so far.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Only 2 players remain, but only one may stand here this weekend at Pro Tour Aether Drift. Will it be Matt Nass or James Dimitrov? Stay tuned.